Imagine a secret hidden just steps away, beneath the very ground you walk on, where years can turn into decades and lives are stolen, one agonizing moment at a time. This is not a work of fiction, but a stark reality for those who endured unimaginable torment, often at the hands of those closest to them. What happens when the veneer of normalcy cracks, revealing horrors that challenge our very understanding of human cruelty? We are about to delve into some of the most disturbing cases in modern history, stories that expose the darkest corners of human behavior and leave an enduring mark on our collective consciousness. Each case is a testament to broken trust, extreme vulnerability, and the ultimate test of humanity's resilience. Our journey into these profoundly disturbing narratives begins in a seemingly tranquil town in Austria, where a dark secret festered for decades beneath a family home. This is the Fritzl case, a chilling account that unfolded in Amstetten, Austria, spanning an incredible timeline from 1984 to 2008. At the heart of this unimaginable horror was Elizabeth Fritzl, a young woman whose life was stolen by her own father. She was held captive in a secret cellar for an astonishing 24 years, a period during which she endured unspeakable abuse and, tragically, bore 7 children by her captor, all within the confines of that hidden dungeon. The methodical nature of this crime is particularly disturbing. Her father, Josef Fritzl, began constructing this hidden basement chamber in 1983, a year before he imprisoned Elizabeth. This was not a spontaneous act but a meticulously planned abduction and confinement, a chilling testament to his premeditation. His monstrous modus operandi involved prolonged imprisonment, systematic rape, repeated forced childbirth, and absolute confinement, all conducted mere feet beneath the family home where his other children lived seemingly normal lives, completely unaware of the horror below. The very air they breathed above ground was shared with the unspeakable suffering hidden beneath their feet. The full scale of this horrific ordeal finally came to light in April 2008, triggered by a desperate circumstance. One of Elizabeth's children, a daughter who had spent her entire life in the cellar, became gravely ill and required hospitalization. Her appearance and the inability to explain her origins raised immediate alarms, prompting a swift investigation that ultimately led police to the Fritzl home and the hidden chamber. Josef Fritzl was arrested, and the truth, hidden for a quarter of a century, was finally revealed to the world. The legal proceedings that followed were deeply unsettling, yet conclusive. Josef Fritzl pleaded guilty in 2009 to multiple charges, including murder by neglect for one of the children who died in captivity, rape, incest, false imprisonment, and enslavement. He was subsequently sentenced to life imprisonment, a just outcome for crimes that defied conventional understanding of human depravity. The Fritzl case remains a stark reminder of the hidden evils that can exist behind closed doors, even in seemingly ordinary communities. Sources: from the chilling depths of an Austrian cellar, our narrative of disturbing cases now moves across continents to a quiet suburban neighborhood in the United States, where another family home concealed a horrifying reality of abuse and captivity. This is the story of the Turpin family abuse, a shocking account that unfolded in Paris, California, continuing largely undetected until 2018. The victims in this unimaginable scenario were 12 children, all held captive by their own parents, Louise and David Turpin. Their lives were defined by extreme neglect and cruelty. Some of the children were found literally chained to their beds, living in deplorable squalor, denied basic necessities, and subjected to systemic abuse. The conditions these children endured were beyond comprehension. They were starved, deprived of education, hygiene, and medical care, existing in a state of permanent fear and suffering. The Turpin family presented a facade of normalcy to the outside world, homeschooling their children and maintaining a seemingly ordinary appearance, which allowed their monstrous secret to remain hidden for years. The critical breakthrough in this harrowing case occurred in January 2018, when one of the Turpin children, a brave 17-year-old girl named Jordan Turpin, managed to escape her confinement. In a remarkable act of courage, she used a deactivated cell phone to call 911, alerting authorities to the horrific conditions inside her home. Police swiftly responded, entering the residence and rescuing the remaining children. The scenes they encountered were appalling, revealing the extent of the deprivation and abuse the siblings had suffered for years. The rescue led to immediate and decisive action. The parents, Louise and David Turpin, were arrested on multiple charges of torture, abuse, and false imprisonment. The dozens of children were rescued from their deplorable living conditions, finally freed from their nightmare. The case garnered international attention, shocking the world with the stark contrast between the parents' public image and their private reign of terror. The Turpin case stands as a devastating reminder that even in modern, developed societies, extreme abuse can persist behind closed doors, hidden from public view until a moment of desperate bravery exposes the truth. From the prolonged cruelty of the Turpin household, we are now forced to confront an even more immediate and brutal tragedy, a case of torture and murder that horrified an entire nation in the mid-1960s. This is the murder of Sylvia Likens, a chilling event that occurred in Indianapolis, Indiana, in October 1965. The victim was 16-year-old Sylvia Likens, a young girl who was left in the care of Gertrude Banaszewski, a woman who, along with her own children and other neighborhood teenagers, subjected Sylvia to unimaginable torture and starvation. The details of Sylvia's torment are profoundly disturbing and reveal a systematic campaign of cruelty. She was subjected to horrific physical abuse. Among the most shocking acts, she was forced to carve words into her own skin with a hot needle. Beyond physical harm, her tormentors also engaged in psychological manipulation, coercing her into writing misleading letters to her parents, implying she was fine or had run away, effectively cutting off her last lifeline to escape. Her abuse often escalated, moving from the Banaszewski home to other locations. In one instance, she was taken to a forest and severely beaten, her ordeal continuing with unrelenting cruelty. Her suffering was prolonged and agonizing, a testament to the extreme sadism of her captors. The horrific abuse culminated in Sylvia's tragic death. She was found dead in the Banaszewski home, her body bearing the indelible marks of torture and starvation. Her murder led to immediate criminal charges against Gertrude Banaszewski, her children, and other teenage accomplices who participated in or witnessed Sylvia's torment without intervention. The ensuing trial became a national sensation, exposing the depths of human cruelty and the failure of neighbors and authorities to intervene earlier. Gertrude Banaszewski was convicted of second-degree murder, and some of her children and other accomplices were also found guilty of various charges. The case of Sylvia Likens remains a stark and haunting reminder of the fragility of innocence and the devastating consequences when unchecked cruelty is allowed to flourish. From the chilling depths of domestic torture and tragic neglect in Indiana and California, our narrative now shifts to a terrifying pair of predators who operated in the late 1970s, leaving a trail of unspeakable horror across the Golden State. These are Lawrence Bittaker and Roy Norris, infamously known as the Toolbox Killers. Their reign of terror unfolded in California during 1979, a period marked by extreme violence against multiple young victims. Their victims were primarily multiple teenage girls, abducted and subjected to unimaginable torture before being brutally murdered. One of their known victims was referred to as Hall in reports, a testament to the random and cruel nature of their selections. The methods employed by Bittaker and Norris were meticulously cruel and psychologically tormenting. They would threaten their victims, using intimidation and terror to maintain control. In a chilling act of depravity, they would also take Polaroids of their victims during their torture, creating a horrifying visual record of their crimes, designed to further degrade and instill fear. These images later became crucial, horrifying evidence in their prosecution. The ultimate act of their depravity was illustrated in the murder of Hall, whom they killed using an ice pick inserted through her ears, a method that underscored their extreme sadism and the intimate, agonizing nature of their violence. Their crimes were not merely about murder. They were about prolonged torment and the complete dehumanization of their victims. The very name Toolbox Killers reflected the various instruments they used in their unspeakable acts, turning everyday items into instruments of torture and death. The exhaustive investigation into their heinous crimes eventually led to their apprehension. Lawrence Bittaker and Roy Norris were convicted and imprisoned for their monstrous acts. Their trials exposed the terrifying depths of their shared depravity, ensuring their permanent removal from society. The ultimate legal conclusion for Bittaker saw him spend decades behind bars, as Bittaker eventually died in prison, taking the full measure of his punishment with him. Norris, on the other hand, became a cooperating witness against Bittaker, securing a lesser sentence, but still spending his life in confinement. The case of the Toolbox Killers remains a chilling testament to the extreme sadism that can emerge from a criminal partnership, leaving a legacy of profound fear and sorrow. From the brutal, personal sadism of two killers in California, we now journey across the globe to a remote cluster of villages in Hungary, where a very different, yet equally disturbing, wave of deaths unfolded over more than a decade. This is the phenomenon of the angel makers of Nagyrev, a dark chapter in Hungarian history that occurred in several Hungarian villages between 1914 and 1929. The perpetrators were a group of women, approximately 26 individuals, with 2 men also implicated, all of whom engaged in a systematic campaign of murder. This network of poisoners was reportedly led by a local midwife named Zuzana Fazekas, who allegedly provided the means and perhaps the motivation for their shocking acts. The modus operandi of the angel makers was insidious and widespread. They primarily poisoned abusive or unwanted relatives, often using arsenic, which was readily available and could be disguised. The initial targets were typically husbands who were considered cruel, ill, or simply burdensome, especially during and after the First World War when many men returned injured or changed. Over time, the practice expanded to include elderly family members, or even unwanted children, all systematically eliminated by seemingly harmless women. The confirmed death toll attributed to this group was 45 individuals, a significant number for such a localized series of crimes. However, speculation, based on the widespread nature of the poisoning and the difficulty of identifying all victims, suggests the true number could be as high as 300 deaths, transforming a local tragedy into a mass murder event. The reign of the angel makers finally came to an end with arrests in 1929. The discovery of their widespread poisoning activities shocked the nation. The subsequent legal proceedings led to multiple convictions, bringing to light the horrifying extent of their collective crimes. Of those convicted, 6 women were handed death sentences, and 3 of them were ultimately executed by hanging, a stark consequence for their systemic poisonings. Others involved received varying prison sentences, ensuring they faced justice for their roles in the deaths. The case of the angel makers of Nagyrev stands as a chilling historical account of covert, community-wide murder, driven by desperation and facilitated by a chilling network of complicity, revealing how insidious violence can fester undetected within seemingly ordinary social structures. From the quiet, insidious poisonings in Hungarian villages, our journey through the darkest cases now transports us to Japan, where a particularly disturbing series of crimes targeted the most innocent members of society. This is the case of Tsutomu Miyazaki, a figure who became known as the Little Girl Murderer, a chilling moniker reflecting his horrifying choice of victims. His crimes unfolded in the Saitama Prefecture of Japan, spanning from August 1988 to June 1989. Over this period, Miyazaki was responsible for the brutal murders of 4 young girls, all aged between 4 and 7 years old, shocking a nation that prided itself on its low crime rates and perceived safety. Miyazaki's modus operandi was a descent into extreme depravity that profoundly disturbed Japanese society. His horrific acts included abduction of the young victims, followed by their murder. Beyond the act of killing, his crimes extended to the rape of corpses, an act of profound desecration, and even cannibalism. Chilling reports emerged detailing how he drank the blood of his victims and ate a hand, revealing a level of perverse ritualism and extreme psychological pathology that stunned investigators and the public alike. His actions were characterized by their extreme cruelty and a complete lack of human empathy, turning the innocence of childhood into a horrifying canvas for his twisted fantasies. The nature of his crimes was so shocking that it led to widespread moral panic and a reassessment of how society dealt with such extreme cases. The extensive investigation eventually led to his apprehension in 1989. Tsutomu Miyazaki was arrested and subsequently went through a prolonged and complex legal process that garnered significant national attention. He was ultimately convicted for his horrific crimes. After years of appeals and legal battles, his sentence was confirmed. Miyazaki was executed by hanging in 2008, bringing a final, albeit delayed, sense of closure to the families of his victims and to a nation traumatized by his actions. His case remains a deeply unsettling reminder of the profound evil that can emerge, even in societies where such extreme violence is rare, and the lasting impact of such monstrous acts on a collective psyche. As we conclude our examination of these deeply disturbing individual cases, from the hidden cellar of Josef Fritzl to the systematic abuse of the Turpin children, the torture of Sylvia Likens, the sadistic acts of the Toolbox Killers, the mass poisonings by the angel makers of Negerev, and the horrific crimes of Tsutomu Miyazaki, several common threads become chillingly apparent. These are not merely isolated incidents but interconnected examples of profound human malevolence that test the very fabric of society. One pervasive theme is the devastating impact of trust broken. In nearly every case, the perpetrators were individuals in positions of trust, authority, or familial relation: a father, parents, a caregiver, or a nurse. Their victims were often vulnerable because they placed their faith in the very people who would ultimately betray and harm them. This rupture of trust is a particularly insidious aspect of these crimes, as it shatters not only individual lives but also a community's sense of security and safety. It forces a chilling realization that danger can emanate from within, from those who are supposed to protect and care. Flowing from this broken trust is the inherent vulnerability of the victims. Whether it was a child held captive, a teenager left in an abusive home, or a patient trusting their caregiver, the victims in these cases were overwhelmingly in a position of powerlessness. Their age, their physical circumstances, or their dependence made them easy targets for exploitation and abuse. This vulnerability was not just a characteristic. It was actively leveraged by the perpetrators, who sought out individuals least likely to resist or expose their horrific acts. The tragic reality is that their weakness became their undoing, enabling the perpetrators to carry out their crimes unchecked for extended periods. Finally, these cases collectively force a profound confrontation with how humanity is tested. They compel us to examine the depths of depravity that individuals are capable of, and conversely, the resilience of those who survived or the courage of those who exposed the truth. Each case challenges our understanding of good and evil, pushing the boundaries of what we believe to be possible within human behavior. These stories serve as a stark reminder that the capacity for immense cruelty exists, and that vigilance and intervention are always necessary to protect the vulnerable. The common threads woven through these narratives are not just about the crimes themselves, but about the insidious ways evil can manifest, shattering the very essence of human connection and trust. As we draw this unsettling journey to a close, having navigated the chilling landscapes of extreme human depravity, it becomes imperative to reflect on the enduring impact of these disturbing cases. From the calculated confinement of the Fritzl cellar to the insidious cruelty of the angel makers and the unspeakable acts of Tsutomu Miyazaki, these narratives are more than just historical records. They are profound lessons on the vulnerability of innocence, the corrosive power of secrets, and the crucial importance of vigilance within society. The stories of these individuals, and the lives they shattered, leave us with a solemn obligation to remember. The pervasive sense of unease left by these cases compels a deeper reflection on the human condition. We have witnessed how some individuals can betray the most fundamental bonds of family, trust, and even professional duty, turning their positions of power or intimacy into instruments of profound harm. The stark reality is that monsters do not always appear as obvious villains. Sometimes, they are hidden in plain sight, behind a facade of normalcy, or within the very homes and institutions designed for safety. This underscores the unsettling truth that the capacity for extreme evil, while rare, is a chilling aspect of the human spectrum. It prompts us to consider the psychological intricacies that drive such individuals, though full comprehension often remains elusive. The lingering questions around motive, the gradual descent into depravity, and the shocking scale of some of these crimes highlight a darkness that society continuously strives to understand and prevent. Our purpose in recounting these cases is not to sensationalize horror, but to emphasize a vital remembrance of victims. The names of Elizabeth Fritzl, Sylvia Likens, the Turpin children, and countless others who suffered at the hands of these perpetrators must be spoken and remembered. Their lives were tragically cut short or irrevocably damaged, and their stories serve as powerful warnings. Remembering them is an act of defiance against the oblivion that the perpetrators sought to impose. It is a commitment to ensuring that their suffering was not in vain, and that their cases contribute to a deeper understanding of human vulnerability and the critical need for protective measures. Their memory fuels the ongoing efforts of law enforcement, social services, and communities to identify and prevent similar atrocities from ever occurring again. This remembrance becomes a solemn promise to honor the lives that were unjustly taken or forever altered. Beyond remembrance, these cases issue a clear call to action for society, a profound emphasis on vigilance. This vigilance extends beyond mere suspicion. It involves a collective responsibility to be aware of the signs of abuse, to question inconsistencies, and to never shy away from reporting concerns, even when they seem minor or too disturbing to confront. It means fostering environments where victims feel safe to speak out, and where concerns about strange behaviors or isolated individuals are taken seriously by neighbors, friends, and authorities. In the modern age, with increased connectivity, this vigilance must also extend to digital interactions, as predators often operate under cloaked identities. The collective awareness of these disturbing patterns, and the knowledge of how such crimes are perpetrated and concealed, becomes a powerful tool in prevention. Finally, confronting these disturbing narratives often leads to a natural process of grief. This grief is not just for the direct victims and their families, but also a collective mourning for the loss of innocence, the shattering of trust, and the profound violation of human dignity. It is a sorrow for the potential that was extinguished and for the chilling reality of what humans are capable of inflicting upon one another. This grief also serves as a catalyst for action, solidifying the resolve to create a safer world where such horrors are less likely to occur. It underscores the enduring importance of compassion, empathy, and community support in safeguarding the vulnerable and healing the wounds left by unimaginable cruelty. As these stories fade from immediate headlines, their lessons must endure, serving as a perpetual reminder of the vigilance required to protect the innocent and uphold the very essence of humanity.
Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe for more.